Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. I'm meteorologist Tim Pandages here with your tropical update. Once again, we're talking about Hurricane Earl on the verge of becoming a major hurricane, likely within the next 12 to 24 hours as it passes by just to the east of Bermuda. Danielle has now gone post-tropical in the North Atlantic. We're not going to be referencing that system in this video. And we're also going to jump over to the Eastern Pacific to talk about Kay, that right now is a hurricane that will slowly weaken as it heads northwest, bringing some tropical impacts to Southern California. Not so much in the way of wind, but some much-needed tropical moisture to alleviate the drought conditions that have been ongoing there. Here's a broad overall summary of the Atlantic Basin. Two named systems, two tropical waves. We are 2 days out from the peak of the season. Hurricane Earl right now is a Category 2, 105-mile-an-hour winds, expected to become a major hurricane, potentially even a Category 4, as it travels on off to the north and east, just to the east of Bermuda. You can see that little dot there is Bermuda. Post-tropical storm Danielle, and two areas of interest, Invest 95L, 70% chance of becoming the next named storm, which would be Fiona. All right, here's a look at Earl right now, a very large system. There's Bermuda moving to the north-northeast at 13. 105-mile-an-hour winds places it on the higher end of a Category 2 hurricane. To get up and over 110, you'd become a major hurricane or a Category 3 storm, and that just increases the overall damage aspect of these systems. Thankfully, it won't be causing too much damage, as Bermuda will be on the clean side, as we refer to the western side of these storms, the dirty side on the east with the strongest winds and potentially the strongest storm surge, or most impactful storm surge, as it passes on off to the east of Bermuda. Here's a look at visible satellite imagery. Very photogenic system here. You can see a very large eye there in the center of Earl. In fact, the most recent update from the Hurricane Center says that eye is 50 nautical miles wide. That is a very large eye, and despite pressures continuing to drop, we're now down to 965 millibars. Typically, when you see a pressure drop, you see an increase in wind speed. But with a very large eye, that energy is actually dispersed over a larger area, so we're not really seeing a big uptick in the overall intensity of the wind speed. Still, it's a Category 2. 105-mile-an-hour winds is nothing to bat an eye at. But we're not seeing a huge intensification of wind speeds or strengthening of wind speeds, despite a drop in overall central pressure of Earl. But it is expected to strengthen still up to 130-mile-per-hour winds, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center says, by Friday afternoon and evening. 130-mile-per-hour winds. At that point in time, it is nowhere near land. Now, it is making a close pass-by, and that's a key word right there, a pass-by, because it's not going to be making landfall on Bermuda. Bermuda is like a needle in a haystack. It's a very small island nation in the middle of a vast open ocean in the middle of Hurricane Alley. So since 1851, there has been very many pass-bys of Category 2 hurricanes or greater, in fact 29 storms. It's even more rare to get a landfalling system. The eye passing directly over Bermuda. That hasn't happened in a couple of years. In fact, I think we have to go back 2 or 3 years. There was a season that we actually had 2 landfalls in the same season over Bermuda. So the probability of at least seeing tropical storm force winds are nearly 100%. There's actually hurricane warnings up for Bermuda for those winds that potentially get up close to hurricane force, but the overall wind field extends out, tropical storm force winds at least, extend out over 100 miles from the center, so that'll certainly encompass Bermuda. This wind scale here has tropical storm force winds not really getting close to hurricane force winds to the island, which is good news, and then it races off towards the northeast, and you can see the strongest of the winds on the dirty side of the system to the east of the center. We're seeing Category 3 potentially wind speeds there. That would be up in over 111 to 129 miles per hour. Wind field expands even more so as it gains latitude, but not near any land. Now, another impact, aside from the wind over in Bermuda, is going to be the rough surf wave heights here. As the storm passes by to the east, the yellow shading here, anywhere from 20 to 25 to even 30-foot waves just offshore of Bermuda, and then as it lifts away to the north and east, that should settle down just a little bit more. Two other waves to talk about. Invest 95L, that's the highest chance of developing within the next 5 days, standing at 70%. The next name on the list would be Fiona, and then Gaston if that other wave behind it decides to develop. Now here's how it looks on infrared satellite imagery. It's got winds of 40 miles per hour, and as I switch this up to visible satellite imagery, it does look like it has a closed center of circulation, So why not the upgrade? The problem is that center of circulation at the surface is well displaced from all the convection or thunderstorm activity to the east because it's encountering some strong wind shear aloft, and that's forcing the storm to tilt over, exposing that low-level center, and all the activity convection is well off to the east of there until it can align, which is not likely going to do, at least anytime soon. It won't get that upgrade. Now, where is it going if it does even hold together? Well, a big consensus on all the models taking it to the west-northwest and then a turn due north, similar to Earl, just taking that turn north well before it gets anywhere close to Bermuda and staying out in the middle of the open Atlantic. So not a worry to land as things look right now. Now let's jump over and look at what Hurricane K is doing out in the Atlantic basin, or excuse me, the Eastern Pacific basin, because it's starting to weaken. Yesterday it was a Category 2 storm with winds up and over 96 miles per hour. Today it's down to a Category 1, 80 mile per hour winds. Notice it's looking a little bit more ragged. It's encountering some land interaction in the Baja California Sur area, lifting to the north, encountering even cooler ocean waters, helping it to weaken even more, down to a tropical storm as it passes just offshore of Southern California. It will not make direct impacts to Southern California in terms of landfall or causing any gusty winds. It's really going to be the tropical moisture that gets flung up into Southern California, which is good news because it'll alleviate the drought conditions there. All right, that's the latest summary on the East Pac and the Atlantic in terms of any tropical activity. Nothing headed towards the U.S., well, aside from K's remnants, but nothing in the Atlantic basin. Until next time, you can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. I'm also on TikTok. We'll see you again tomorrow.